Good evening and welcome to Porcupine Stand here on YouTube with Soberi. So ba share ma unia na unia eso ensa enka eye jumedi ayedi or this very channel. Mu be bringing what is happening to this channel. So because of that, and I am for life, but we want to fix all the issues we are. Then you what everything is this. Na ya started a biukwemuna ya started atuja. Well, at the end of 90 minutes, Kumasi Asante Kotoko na any Bechem United at the share so a year the Babayara Sports Stadium. Well, at the end of 90 minutes, Asante Kotoko share bakon Emma Bechem United and so share bakon at the end of 90 minutes. We are going to discuss what happened in today's game. Yes, a netball no any baby bobo na yadwene ho e channel we. Then a call bonnet because so steady Asante Kotoko after say club neba back to the Babayara Sports Stadium. We any match Asante Kotoko drop points ID kind. All other matches are Kotoko ball Babayara Sports Stadium. It's been win for Asante Kotoko. A year home at the Baba Sports Stadium. But unfortunately, Kotoko Etimia recorded a year, the Bechem is saying, a draw in today's fixture. At a time, Ubeka said, team no enya 3 points a pano and a draw we a team aba. Ghana Premier League, no, I keenly contested. What do you say? Is keenly contested pa enye eyasem ketwa ho but ena ni enim se Kotoko beshe because the simple mathematics was that if Asante Kotoko timi wini all ni home matches at the end of the day Asante Kotoko ebe twaso at the Ghana Premier League, but that was not the story of the day. A draw against Bechem United, and like I said, since Kotoko's return to the Babayara Sports Stadium, winning match a decline Asante Kotoko about draw ewo, not a befitting scoreline like most of us anticipated. Well, this is the story of the day, and I feel any about key reviews ewo a game. Well, it can get better, but nipaya dia. Send a tie canon or say aye. Now, over time, we've been talking about attendance at the Babayara Sports Stadium. Yes, this attendance under no circumstance and a bang Asante Kotoko has a boy or Ghana Premier League after Kotoko Piemo Boise. I'll back to the Babayara Sports Stadium. No. Asante Kotoko game on has boy and nipa domwa ebe piemu ewo stadium hono o de compare ene de na enye yi but ene so ye da si ye discussions en wo be hia se etitafo a etimi ball dompem ebe piemu ewo the Babayara Sports Stadium ye de o maseda ebe mo this week and a week ye twemu Asante Kotoko management decided to let some of the players a tour on media houses to call on the fans to show up. To some extent, we enye full stadium. In fact, nipa ebe PMO stadium no cry they can't someone endru even 30%. But the truth of the matter is that it was better than most of the matches are Asante Kotoko abo, and we should give credit to the fans that showed up in today's game to show love and support to Asante Kotoko. Second thing, let's move on straight to the tactical aspect of the game. Well, Coach Ogum had an unchanged squad and a boy against Klaba. Your friend Bechem United. Same squad that played against Heart of Lions and a coach at the boy. Freddy Kasari, goalkeeper. Right back Daniel Ajiti. Left back, Abrantia, your friend Patrick Esiedu, 4 and 5 Michael Sefa, and Samba O'Neil. Middle of justice playing Tim Menu with Babaya as the number 10. So change Kessie Baku was Emmanuel Enchi. Ima Echo bench for Babaya to come and take over the midfield role. The role as the trekwa tester. The onobejina the midfield and attack nimino Baba and Ebeyesa Ejumano. Then a front line of Peter Aqua, Albert Amwa, and Kwame Puku. So more of a 4-3-3 system because we should game ni year. Yeah, the no cra air can semwa. A chita fuono and our coach Ogum Emma Babaya ball through the middle zone. Tinaya ono nana infinfin hono. Ujina defensive midfielders miyenuno any attackers no front trainer on any genomenim. And that was how Asante Kotoko set it up in today's game. A 4-3-3 system. Yaya coming in. Well, first and first, let's start from the goalkeeping department. That game. How Asante Kotoko conceded is a repeat of last week. So, discuss game now. Clearly, the team need to start working on how they defend set pieces. But last week, Asante Kotoko conceded through a corner kick. And a free header in the 18-yard box of Asante Kotoko. Panyai na ball no edatenem. That was how Asante Kotoko conceded a goal last week against Heart of Lions. Fast forward this week and exacting the same thing and a same repeatee, raising issues of the technical and tactical work also behind the scenes. Asante Kotoko team a ball. Samba O'Neil cleared the ball. Corner. Free header. Again in the same area. Freddy Kasari MP. Or Chinimu went to me and hit the ball. No? And I went to me and clear ball and Kotoko conceded. So for 2 weeks running, Asante Kotoko have conceded through a corner kick. Now this was a problem for Asante Kotoko last season. Now how Kesiema Asante Kotoko? So even the profiling of the kind of players Anakotokope to strengthen their defense, they went in for players that are good in the air. Now see about corner, near Chisel, free header. Now they are Chiasabo near Chiasawa. The key problems need to be concentration because the players did not remain focused when the kick was coming in. The two issue, and the second issue, if you are consistently conceding from corner, you are having issues with positioning, marking, and awareness of players. The awareness of your players no form, and it moves hand in hand with your concentration. So you lose concentration, you will not be aware of the threat around your area. But what you come and say? And because you are not aware of the threat around your area, you stand at the wrong position, which will raise issue of positioning. The awareness, concentration, positioning, ebe factors against them because they have players are. And the Kotoko Justice Blay line up very good in the air. Sephaya Bema good in the air. Samba O'Neil good in the air. Inti Menu also defensive zone good in the air. In Sebabaya Yamokran and Mbambe defender. If you have these four players with Daniel Ajete and Patrick Esiedu also in the box, because I wish go now Kotoko had about 6 players in the penalty box. Now Obinya free header. Nobody contested the header. And in cases like that, in as much as you're talking about the technical routine of the team when Omu concede corner, it means that the playing body are also not doing enough because you bet me a with them. But Jina Park in the SWA, as I say, all commanded directed Now all control the positioning. You benya keeper, and to some extent, 2 goals in your Frederick Kasari MPA. First one were MPA, and last one MPA. There were moments I couldn't even OPA, but as a keeper MPA, you should be able to push your players to address players of your opponent. Send you in their midst, in that crowded area, obi menya freer that enfam promotion. So a simianu, and yes, open play, and ye boss short as a Kotoko. And yes, ye Kotoko defenders at the boy Kotwatrim, but ye the corner air Shamodia. Then I said the goalkeeper's trainer and the technical team plus the players must go back to the dressing room and fix this issue before Sebabe cancer. And you might take it on a lighter note. Out of 2 points, in the last 6, and Kotoko was 6 out of 6. And I know Kebe boosted the club's chances of winning the Ghana Premier League. Good. For the defensive unit, I am okay. By Air Kasano, I've raised issue about how opponent at the corner Mienu Asha Sante Kotoko. Now, the other question baby Sani said, now on the side of Asante Kotoko, how are they utilizing their corner kicks? And clearly, from all indications, Kotoko so corner na ebano enkosi. So it raises issue of how you defend your set pieces and how you attack your set pieces. And in all those occasions, from what we are witnessing when Kotoko is playing, it is not the best. In the defense of Kotoko, I don't have much problem. But my issue again, and he say I did take Kobo cross and a Kobo corner, and I see do Kobo corner, and who be here sa corner no. Edi bibi papa bibe brass and Kotoko after a year kick ni abo. And yes, a corner neba ni a coach no ni abo ne keke ni asaba na bibi papa bien free wamba. Now let's move on to the midfield. The creativity in the Kotoko team is becoming an issue. Our matches are here. And then first player coach Ogumi in free was Babaya. Because it looks like a Juma coach pair se Babambe. Now creative chances ma man for nseno. Kwa ese coach Ogum hu saa de no free Babaya ya bonum. Wen. But this is what I'm observing. Andrews in team menu clearly any player that can create chance. He's a workaholic midfielder. He's a midfielder that will cover spaces. Or a midfielder obey blocks, obey interception. But on your midfielder, young pushy ball and co-opponent final third. Niyan come decent pass. Quality. Now when you watch Blay, you also realize that Blay is so close to the defenders of Asante Kotoko. It's born now Kotoko bono. Intim creati. Blay ain't creati. The amoya idea ball recovery, shielding the fullbacks when they surge forward. And some fullbacks ni come and no man to create chance from the wings. From the middle, both Intim and Blay cannot create. Into number 6, no number 8 nin create. And so number 10, which last week was Emmanuel Entry and this week was Babaya, and Timian create pe. Na chere se ni mo ofo na so mo bo machi. No mo ba bua be fa ball no free a chire ho. E de kwa anim ansa na makwa create. So from what we are observing, is either in matches are Kotoko or dominating opponents. Now a lot of supplies. Echo the final third. Emma 2 strikers. Don't forget, Kotoko is playing Albert Tamwa from the wings and Kwame Poku from the central zone. The lack of supply. Emma these players, what is in them? So it's either Coach Ogum will move back to in matches that Ojidi say Obetimi Ashe. It's either he move back to one defensive midfielder. So that either Obebo Entry and Yaya for extra creativity through the central zone. Because how the creativity working in Akwa one player, so you're locking a pair, the game is done. Peter Aqua Echeche. Obe take it on. But the final product in it is saying, end product in it is saying, what did the creativity of the whole team? Eko Jina Peter so from the wings. Patrick come and say, he can do it, but you stop on the pet. And now say Patrick Esie do am bekan one mama anye 2 on the wings a hona lock it. Obachi ba akwa chi mienu ni age. So when you meet a team that is defending in low block, omu jina chiro bebre. Now pese Peter chichu remo enko. Saas now pese in team any blade to the central zone. Eko omenim kobo passa eno nko because enyo omadwuma omunim ye. Tina abegyina ya so. Meaning Kwame Poku will drop deep, Albertamwa will drop deep, and baby which is the penalty box for them to do the finishing. So I think said the double pivot will function very well for Kotoko in certain matches where you need extra protection for your defenders. But in matches where you are playing 2 attackers and you expect your attackers to see much of the ball, send your many ball not to attempt. When you play 2 defensive midfielders in team and play, the creativity will decrease and on many na many more enko famfa so be emba. So you who say Kotoko ba press amba Kotoko so sa. And yes, there were times that Freddy Kasari was called to the party to save Asante Kotoko. Yes, I won't lie. ABC, ebu eba bonnet so no the save ni ade. But who say Kotoko ba e chire ho ne nya dadwene sa. But who say finfi ho no. And ye nim one ne be dadwene because we don't have players that can turn up, dance with the ball. In team jina ball so cha ye different in some. So I can see that people are complaining saying team is becoming slowly headed because as a number 8 he is expected to hold on to the ball and set the tempo. Onim ye ebe expose no. Into oje jina so 1-2 either see an opponent in be pressing ya je finisem. Na afa just o chase sa kwaje ball no. Can a Juma no waje ball na so piam obi no asa begina ho. No essay a wasan tumnika their friend mponko Juma no sebio. No tumnika jeje ball ne ba. That is the job. That is the job. Until last season. And last season, yes. And then we had Jema Kotoko at a point na coach Ogum. Etimi bo che jamana any in team. Ebu ahano about Sheriff any in team. Edru baby a coach decided said Debbie. Maybe one defensive midfielder, 2 creative midfielders. I know about Sheriff Mohammed Pe. Now about Lamtene Babayaya Aka Sheriff ono. With a 3-back system. Afe na medono Kotoko dominating creative more chance because Yaya be creative, Lamte be creative. Lamte jeba on panic because ball ni jinaswa. Utimi nim the other ball here. So the technical team need to go back because so 2 strikers in Albertamwa and Kwame Poku enya supplies her. Then you mujina ball no mu yeden. Ball no omujina mu yeden. Yeden. So that issue need to be fixed or else yebeba debia ababeka Kotoko attackers no in how they are playing. Now let's go to the attack of Asante Kotoko. And then I'm not surprised that Coach Ogum he decided to say Kwame Poku at some point in time will be in a free game. No. Now I can't say me in the say Oshe Kwame Poku ba Kotoko. If you go and watch the videos, what you realize that Kwame Poku hardly scored outside the 18-yard box. First thing, Choroto. The second thing is that Kwame Poku, baby, oya dear pani say, when you play or touch a ball, bro, 4, 1-2 no shooting. It's a Kwame Bejia. Ultimately, 1-2 no shooting, so you'll be useless. And in today's game, Kwame Poku was basically below par. One of his worst games for Asante Kotoko. And I'm going to say Coach Ogum Unifree. See a cap ball nan kasa boa. Minta ball dan nan wo timi twemi enu twemi ensa. Eduku betimi ade atwe. Abetamo betimi ade atwe. Kwame Poku de ne ese fabra menhye. So he had a bad game because he is now expected to dribble. Into a same way I can't platform so that all the Kwame Poku Koto wings are obeying a free makers on him bobo. Because Kwame Diana Majit me 3 defenders mienu and son of my bo. Nyene Diana no. Ne Diana said me ya me baby I'm a boss shotter a shame ye. So he can score goals that other players will not see. He can score goals in movement. A bit taking ordinary strikers a long time before they will score. So in the absence of creativity, Kwame Poku becomes a liability. Minta can find his way. Eduku can find his way. Albertamwa can find his way. But Kwame Poku needs supplies. In Tubeka, you need a lot of supplies. You need to supply him the ball. Tubeka, time and Kwame Poku should go. Now command they be a coach who say you create chances so you send because Oman a 3 I'll bet me as 2 no say 1. But I feel crowdy and creative crampon when you are saying so he will become a liability in your game. So in today's game, Kwame Poku was not functioning. In Tiangamawa, some month was started cassette. Let's start pushing Albertamwa back to the number 9 position and Kwame Poku from the bench. And I'm commander started. I'm not surprised. Because Albert Amwa, when the team is not creating, can come back and help. Kwame Poku can't do that. But away from that, the substitutions of Asante Kotoko coach Ogun seem not to be working in consistent matches. Enya baako, enya mienu, and enya miensa. It's becoming a pattern. Se Kotoko bobo wiya. Coach nensi saye no obeye no. Ye unhu so mfaso. Against Samates was okay. But Baseke, Chelsea, Young Apostles, similar. Heart of Lions, similar. And in today's game, you will give him praises for the introduction of Fernando Westgott Bassey. Because or there's some sort of energy be game. That is something I won't take from the coach. But aside that, none of his substitutes, any whom that energy from the bench that pushes team to win matches, none of them. Bassey be idea. Is it enough for him to start? I'll leave that to the technical team. But no credit yamianim matches we na uwinia ultimately di nkunim edigi league. Matches we na uwinia udigi league. So when timi share matches we are embwa patwati asia. So when timi share matches we are embwa. If you cannot win these matches, I am telling you the fact, you cannot win the league. You can have bad games, accepted. Your matches nibiwa enye. But diebema yeshe match na enye ni nyina yebeka anu atum. Se wetimi adi nkunim. For instance, Leganes against Barcelona yesterday was a very difficult game for Barcelona. But they managed to win. And no matter what you say, we're getting 3 points. And one of the worst matches we've seen from Asante Kotoko. Almost everything about the team today was poor. Passes or muntimimbo. Shorter yentimimbo bimfa pomu. Chancer yentimin kreti. Control yentimin control ball. So the disadvantage is that when you play bad and you don't get the 3 points, you compound the issues. But even when you play bad and you get the 3 points, everybody keep quiet because born you come see 3 points into one saka and found on safa so kind. So Coach Ogum need to go back to Adakwejachi. Unfortunately, this was a long week for Kotoko. So we cannot use the excuse of tiredness. Because now what you weigh and now what you are. Asante Kotoko team no. Omunya the whole week, Monday no free pando by, and I'm starting training Tuesday up to Saturday. Nothing of tiredness. It's yeba, ni intimi pass bear 3. Yeba, na intimi control game. Ye wie, na ball na ye bo wie ye no, match for na what you way players ni bimpo. A call a year radio station to call them to come to the stadium to come and watch Kotoko no. Among Kofi feeling that the next home game they are supposed to come back. And to some extent, Bechem United displayed an A-class game in today's game. Technically and tactically, they were compact, they were disciplined, and they frustrated Asante Kotoko. And say matches now Kotoko bono. Ya de no kre kan asema yam pejemu a league ne je ne be den. Yam pejemu a league ne je no e be den. Because here the form guide na yen koma. The last 5 matches, Asante Kotoko 9 points out of 15. And that means that in the last 5 matches, club FN Asante Kotoko, minya, sabi da mno kasei, Asante Kotoko, you're the 9th in the last 5 matches. This is not how you finish the league. And you see, any faso a real league, you know. So last 5 matches, a brow be real league, you know. Over 9 points are. Say, more than money to sign. And that's also on the screen. Last 5 matches, Kotoko about draw 3 and we win 2. So either say Obama or more on your more print, I catch it up with you. The good news is that within that same period, Gold Stars were 10. Nations were 10. What in common I say? Mediama were 9. No abenya has to focus or 5. Within that same period, no. Into your more only your move pretty out of Lions or 4. To your more may hear that through no. Hey, your more ask you. And that is why among sign who will league in a so. Bankanya sa come sign who will league, you know, in Koma Edian. So technical team led by Coach Ogum. Your best ceremony. Mumpejan. It cannot keep up at this pace, and Kotoko will win the league. There are way matches ahead of us. Yeah, Accra Lions. Based on the screen, Accra Lions are the 5th best team. Yabebo has away. Nations and Baby and Gold Stars. In these 8 matches are carrying. 8 matches, you know. There's also Vision FC. The 8 matches, Kotoko 5 away, 3 home. Sana community. Vision FC, Nations FC, Heart to Folk, Gold Stars, and Accra Lions. 5 away matches. So you cannot afford to be dropping points in your home matches. You cannot afford to be dropping points in your home matches. If you do so, there's a league in Ejiano, and I will show at the frame. So, not the best of scoreline, but you better wish team not the best in the other matches. You better send share you. Bye bye.